Hi, and thanks for linking into this fortnight's video blog. I'm glad you have. I realise that time is a precious resource, and I'm really thankful for the fact that you've taken some of yours to watch this. So I really hope it's helpful for you. This is the second in a series on the inner thoughts and the inner workings of the leader, those inner aspects, not so much the external ones, which we've looked at as well, of vision and strategy and decision making and mission, those sort of things which are external to us, but this is about the inner us, and it really revolves around our default settings, which we all have. We all have those internal presets in our lives which cause us to make decisions and make choices and behave in certain ways and express our leadership in certain ways. That's the presets of our lives, and we all have them. We've got a series of them. It's a bit like a computer where you have a default font size, you have a default font look. My printer, whenever I put stuff in and don't change it, it automatically pumps it out two-sided colour, even if I don't want it. And we all have those default settings in our life. And it's based around some of the thoughts I remember getting many, many years ago from a book by Gordon MacDonald. I think it's called Rebuilding Your Broken World or Rebuilding Your Broken Life, something like that, about some of the default settings that we have as leaders, some of which cause us to lead with an impact or in a way that's not as healthy as it should be. And he mentions 4 of those, and they've been very helpful for me to understand. And the first one of those is the default of reaction. In other words, we make decisions by reacting to the circumstances around us, reacting to what's happened in our environment. And I suspect that that's been much of the decision making this past year, particularly as circumstances have changed, as there's been uncertainty, and we're not quite sure what tomorrow brings. So I understand that. But to have the default of reaction means very often that you just jump from crisis to crisis. You find yourself putting out one fire after another, or you jump to the next fad or to the next trend, and you don't get a chance to really think through the decisions that you're making. And if you lead like this, you'll find yourself at the mercy of external forces regularly. So that's the whole thing of reaction. Second one he talks about is conformity, where our leadership is about doing what we know other people will expect us to do and wanting to please them, wanting to make it good for them at all times. It's the choices and the decisions we make that are under the banner, if you like, of the weight of public opinion. And if you have that sort of desire to please people, if you have that desire to make peace at all costs, you'll often make decisions and choices based on conforming to what other people want you to do and the decisions they want you to make. And this sort of default will rob you of vision. It will rob you of innovation and creativity. It will rob you of those things. It will rob you of adventure. It will rob you of some entrepreneurship, and it will cause your creative self to be have a cap. It'll put a cap on your dreams. It'll put a cap on risk. It'll put a cap on innovation, and that's the whole default setting of conformity, just conforming to what other people want you to do. The third one is compulsion, and that's when our default becomes those inner drives, those driven forces within us that cause us to make choices and make decisions a certain way. Those inner drives that just come from deep within, and sometimes we don't even know where they come from. It's a drive to succeed, or a drive not to fail, or a drive to be the best, or it's to be competitive and to see others as rivals or even opponents. That's that inner drive that sometimes takes over our decision-making process, and where choices and decisions are based on that rather than necessarily good thinking, good planning, good discerning. Sometimes the family of origin is a real factor in this particular default, where if you sort of grow up in a win-at-all-cost family or a very competitive family, sometimes you'll rush to make short-term wins at the expense of maybe medium or long-term wins, and you'll have those short-term wins and maybe medium or long-term losses. The default, which is so important today, and it's what the first thought has talked about, is to live by intentionality, to make choices, to make decisions with the presets of, good values you already have, good relationships you already have, good choices you've already made in advance, so that you're making proactive choices rather than reactive choices. That's important, that you lead by intentionality, that you make a choice how you're going to lead and the sort of values you're going to lead with, and you make those decisions and you stay the course despite what other people want sometimes, despite those inner drives that make you want to win immediately, despite those reactions to the circumstances around you, that you live by intention, by already predetermined, preset values that are good and healthy, preset relationships that will help you, those sort of presets. That's important. And that kind of proactive, intentional leadership requires a security of your identity, so that you can do it with confidence rather than being nervous and shaky all the time. And it talks about a security of our life and our very being, and it's something about that security and that intention and that identity that I want to talk about in the next fortnight's video blog. It goes even deeper into the inner workings of the leader. But that's enough for now. The importance is that the defaults we need to work by are not reaction, just jumping here and there at every circumstance that surrounds us. It's not conformity, just filling in what other people want us to do. And it's not compulsion, just those deep inner drives that we don't even know are there sometimes. It's living with intention. So leaders live and lead with intentionality. That's the way we are meant to lead. That's all for now. Look forward to next time when we take this a little step further and look at the identity and the security of how we can make those sort of decisions. So love your feedback. Please feel free to give me that on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on the website, timhanna.com.au, on the YouTube channel. Please do that. And till then, I'll see you next time. Stay well, take care, and bring hope.